What is up, guys? It's your commissioner. It's the owner of the Tampa Bay Hurricanes, the only two-time champion in D12 history, the host of the D12 Showdown. You know, doing what I can to make sure that this league stays entertained and entertaining. So, made a list of the worst 12 trades in D12 history, the 12, hashtag the 12. And today I'm bringing you 12 through 9, because we'll go backwards. So, the 12th worst trade in D12 history, at least according to me, I think is trade 16.28. Always on these in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, that will show the team that came out ahead, in my humble estimation, and in the upper right-hand corner will be the team that lost in this trade. So 16.28, I think this was partially through the season. I think that Chris was pretty much out of contention because I know that he started off so horribly. This was obviously after Woodhead got injured. But San Francisco receives Danny Woodhead, a bunch of filler players, and Chris's 2018 first-round draft pick. Now, maybe Chris at the time said, I'm going to be really good in 2017. That pick's going to be terrible. It's still a decent trade chip that he should have hung on to. In return, Chris received D'Angelo Williams, Dexter McCluster, Emmanuel Sanders, and Jonathan Stewart. Now, Sanders was key in picking up Jordan Matthews' contract later on. I think Chris still could have gotten that by giving up just Julio to Durs. But, yeah, D'Angelo, probably not back in Pittsburgh. He's only valuable if Le'Veon's out anyway. That $36 is nothing more than an $18 cap hit at this point. So Chris gave up, a year of Danny Woodhead, $14, not a bad flyer, and a first-round draft pick, essentially for 1 year of Jonathan Stewart, and $18 in the cap hit. So that is the 12th worst trade in D12 history. It's not all roses for Ferguson, though, because the 11th worst trade in D12 history I have down as trade 15.08. This was obviously before the draft in 2015. So San Antonio received pick 1, who ended up being Todd Gurley. So San Antonio moved this pick later on. San Francisco received pick 8 and pick 18. There was some cash considerations as well. Ferguson obviously did not use that to make a playoff run or a title run. So the trade boils down to it was Todd Gurley for Brashad Perryman and Devin Funchess. I know that all three of these guys have been traded since then as well. In fact, the picks, I think, were traded prior to the draft too. But not the greatest trade. One of the worst. It's the 11th worst trade of all time. Maybe people should stop trading away the number 1 pick. Speaking of trading away the number 1 pick, the number 10 worst trade in D12 history, and I did originally have this higher, and some of you probably think, oh, this is maybe the worst of all time. Just hear me out. I got plenty of trades that I was on the losing end, and before I go any further, Justin, why you got to copy my colors like this? I mean, your blue is almost the exact same as my blue. It's not very creative of you. But trade 16.15 prior to the draft. This was after Elliott was on the Cowboys. I knew he was going to be awesome. But I traded away the rights to Ezekiel Elliott. In return, I received Sammy Watkins, $45 for 3 years, and the worst of the 2017 St. Louis-Oakland round ones. When I made this trade, I thought Justin's team was hot garbage. I thought for sure that even with Elliott, that he was going to be in the lottery. I couldn't have been more wrong. Justin ended up winning the championship last year. That pick ended up being pick 12. Now, I traded that pick up to pick 7, and I traded away Sammy Watkins for Corey Coleman and Laquan Treadwell. Hopefully, those guys produce a little bit better this year. Well, then I swapped the 7 pick for a J. Obviously, guys don't stay on my team very long. So I think, I mean, the parts that I received out of this deal will not equal Ezekiel Elliott, but I still think that there are some decent enough pieces that I lowered this all the way down to 10. And the number 9 worst trade of all time. Crap, I didn't write down what trade number this was. This was pre-Richard. I know that Richard's logo is there, but I couldn't find Brian's old logo, and I had to throw something on there. This was the St. Louis franchise. I think that this trade was in 2014. I'm not positive. I'll mention it in the comments below. But Rio receives DeAndre Hopkins, $19 for 4 years, and Robbie Gould. St. Louis received, or pulsating Rhino Nuts received, Steve Smith, $56 for 2 years, Mason Crosby, $2 for 3 years, and Brandon LaFell, $1 1 year. Crosby's a kicker. LaFell sucks. Steve Smith way overpaid on this contract at his age. And Chris was able to get himself a top 10 dynasty prospect in DeAndre Hopkins for pretty cheap, $19 for a really long time. So those are numbers 9 through 12. I got to get some cleaning done around the house, and maybe I'll be back later with 8 through 5. Peace.